Now, the midweek chart was published today. It's the top 40 chart, but just for the first half of the week. And guess what's number one? Go on, have a guess. Yes, it's Band-Aid 30. Do they know it's Christmas? It is, in fact, the fastest-selling record of the year. It sold over 250,000 copies so far, which reminds us of another generous charity recording, Africans for Norway, offering sympathy and radiators to the sad people of Norway who have such a cold climate.
In Norway, kids are freezing.
It's time for us to care. This heat's enough for Norway.
If Africans would share.
Yet Africans keep thinking we can't contribute. The warmth they've got we'd like to share, but we can distribute.
Now the tables have turned. Now it's Africa for Norway, and there's no way we can close our eyes. We see that they freeze. As Africans concerned, they're sending Jesus all the way. Radiate to Norway with a tropical breeze.
Now, that does actually go back a couple of years. Many of you will have seen it, but it resurfaced on Twitter, and its point is as relevant as ever, that we in the West enjoy wallowing in African misery, in the process portraying the whole continent in cliched, unidimensional terms. They've made one or two other pastiche videos.
It's my first time in Africa, and as a young mother, I'm really looking forward to meeting the children. Your father, where is he?
My father left when I was 2 years old. He went to look for a job, and he never returned ever since. So I've been the man of the house. Is this your first charity appeal?
Kurt! Michelle, you must stick to the script.
Well, one of the folks behind that video is Jørn Wichne Pedersen, who joins us from Oslo. And with me here in the studio is the filmmaker and journalist Sorius Samura from Sierra Leone, and Oxfam's Director of Communications, Jack Lundie. Good evening to you all.
Hi.
Jørn, I'd like to start with you. I mean, what exactly is the point you are making with these videos?
Well, we wanted to challenge the stereotypical ways that we way too often see in fundraising campaigns, and we wanted to challenge it using humor. Right. And when creating the first video you saw there, the Radiate Africa for Norway version, we actually used Band-Aids, Do They Know It's Christmas, as a primary source of inspiration.
I think that was obvious, yes, indeed. You're not doubting the intentions, the good intentions of anyone, Bob Geldof, or anyone engaged in raising money through these kinds of ways for Africa, though?
Well, I think that getting involved in the fight against Ebola is in principle commendable. However, I wonder why it is so that the leading musicians of this world is not able to create attention around this problem without using stereotypes and patronizing means. And I was a little bit disappointed this time. It's the fourth version of the original song, and I was hoping that it would be something different this time.
I mean, just tell me what you can say of Bob Geldof. He raises money, and that does some good. Is that a defence?
Yeah,
do you do any good? You know, I mean, you can laugh at Bob Geldof and make fun of him, but do you do good as well?
Well, I don't think this is about what we do, but we are also a development aid organization that supports more than 40 local organizations in Southern Africa and Latin America. However, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong necessarily, but we want people to start questioning the way that we often, or that is way too often, communicated when we talk about faraway places and faraway problems.
Okay. Let me put some of these points then to my guests here. So, Sorius, first of all, people in Africa must know what's going on here, a lot of them. What do they think of it? Do they find it patronising?
Well, first of all, I think what the video has done is just help Africans to make a point. There is an African saying that says,
until the lion starts telling its own story, the hunter will always be glorified. Over the years, the West has been covering Africa, and the way the West cover Africa, sometimes because of political correctness, they don't say things as they should say it. But in some other cases, you look at the coverage, it's so negative. Some of the things that they used to portray Africa are things that when you talk to ordinary Africans, they clearly don't like it, because some of the images, for instance, you know, naked women in the opening of Bob Geldof's video, you know, a woman who is half naked. If that was something to do with the West, you would not get that kind of image about a Western woman half naked.
But I mean, Jack Lundie, this gets to the absolute heart of this, doesn't it? Basically, you and the charity sector have found that to raise money, which is what your job is, you need to portray the people of Africa as victims. And the more you portray them as victims, the more money you get. And so we do end up with you endlessly showing us a one-dimensional picture of the continent, no?
No, I don't accept that at all. And Oxfam certainly needs to tell a very balanced story, because although in order to fundraise, there's no point shying away from showing the truth. And in the situation in West Africa, it is sufficiently grave for us to need to shock the world into responding. We are not responding adequately to this. But if we were to only tell that story, our supporters would not believe in our vision for a world in which poverty doesn't exist. So we also balance that and tell the story and show the fact that African people in all 54 African countries are more than capable of using their own power to overcome poverty. We tell the story of the dramatic progress that has been made over the last 20 years.
The continent's been growing at what? I mean, 5 to 10%, most of it, for the last decade. That's kind of China great.
There are some amazing stories across Africa.
Does it work, Jack? Does it work to have celebrities going there in the way that we saw the pastiche of in the second video? You take someone over there, they make a little video about it and make an appeal on the basis of meeting
does it work?
Little children. Is that a good way? Because it certainly entrenches the view we have, doesn't it?
Well, I think it's certainly well established enough to have funny videos and satire poked at it. There's no doubt about that. But it's about reaching new audiences, and I think that's the great thing about Band-Aid, is that if it offers people who wouldn't ordinarily be reached by charity messaging the chance to play their part in combating what is a truly awful, as you've seen, a truly awful situation there, then that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
But the trouble about Band-Aid, again, in fact, if you take this new song, you know, you take the first two lines, the lyric says, there is a world outside your window, and it's a world of dread and fear. You know, that is actually painting 3 countries out of 54 African countries, first of all, that you are presenting as Africa, you know, and you're presenting them as others, because by doing the way it's being presented is the danger. It's
Sorry, I just want to interrupt. Does it have an effect on the Africans, the elite, if you like, in Africa, their own sense of responsibility for their own continent, do you think?
Oh, there is no doubt that, you know, I will not sit here and play the blame game. You know, in fact, I always say that nobody disrespects you without your permission. It is the African leaders who have made the ordinary Africans victims. You know, it is not that these ordinary Africans are victims, but they are victims because of poor governance, and it is the leadership that actually we need to hold to account, because they are the ones, and this is the problem I have even with the aid, because where does it go? Even what is being raised now, what is raised 30 years ago, we don't have accountability. Now, do they know it's Christmas? Of course we know it's Christmas. I enjoyed Christmas back home, but the people who will know that it's Christmas from whatever is raised are the politicians. It will not reach the grassroots people. So that is what I have problems with, the same people who always keep stealing and stealing. The bottom line is that the way you guys are giving aid has to change.
Let me just go back to Jørn in Norway. And I don't know, what exactly do you think would be a better way of presenting and appealing?
Well, I think the leading musicians could have done a way better. I agree with Jack Lundie that using song is a good thing in order to create engagement and to get other people who don't normally read newspapers that much and are not into these things on a great scale, to get them involved. But I was hoping, and I was waiting for Band-Aid to on this 4th version to actually come out and not using stereotypes and patronizing means when communicating and when singing. Of course, there is, of course, a danger to being, what should I say, humorless and taking song lyrics too literally. And that is why I found this song actually to be a little like, it kind of like reminded me, or it looked to me as a parody of the first version of when kind of like there's a problem at the start. You've got the celebrities walking in, and they are there to do the right thing and solve this problem right away.
Jørn, we need to leave it there.
And
Jørn, we need to leave it there. Jack and Sorius, thanks both.